And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Summoner Wars, the 2nd edition Master Set. Now folks, today I'm putting out 2 videos about Summoner Wars. One is a comparison video. If you've already played Summoner Wars, the 1st edition, then that's what I would recommend you watch. I'm just going to compare the 2 of them back and forth. If you've never played Summoner Wars before, don't worry. The original Summoner Wars was a couple factions where your cards are your units and your magic and everything else, and you're fighting back with someone else. A very quick match, a tactical match where you need to take out the opponent's summoner. That's exactly what this is, but this box includes 6 different summoners, 6 different factions, from the noble vanguard who heal, to the orcs, to the weird breakers, to the evil fallen kingdom. So you can pick one of these factions and play against another one. Here's how it plays. In this game, you're going to pick one of 6 different factions, and we'll talk about the different factions in a second. But the factions will come with a summoner, and your object in this game is to take out your opponent's summoner. On the back of your summoner, it shows where you will put your stuff in starting place. So my summoner, for example, goes here on the board. I'm going to also be bringing in a Horde Slinger, a Beast Rider, and a Gate. So for example, the Gate will go here, summoner goes here, Horde Slinger here, and the Beast Rider there. So I set up that way. My opponent sets up on their side of the board, and one of us is going to go first. Whoever goes first has 2 magic. The other person starts with 3 magic. The rest of your cards you have in a deck. And there are rules in the box for deck building, but in this particular edition of Summoner Wars, there is no deck building. You just play with one of 6 pre-built decks. So we're not going to worry about that for now. We're just going to talk about how the game plays. On a player's turn, the first thing that they can do is they can summon units. Units are summoned usually next to one of your gates. Each player starts with a gate on the board, but you'll have 3 more that are in your deck. They have fewer hit points, but you'll have an opportunity to build those as the game goes by. When you summon units next to a gate, you're going to pay the summoning cost. So each unit has a summoning cost. This one costs 2 magic. This also has a life. That's 3 life. This symbol's used for deck building purposes. And then this shows how many dice they roll when they attack and whether that attack is melee or ranged. There's also special abilities that are listed here. But we're talking about summoning, so if I want to summon this, I would pay 2 magic and place it next to my gate. In this particular one, I might also want to summon another Horde Slinger, and in this case, they're free. They cost 0. And again, it'd have to be in an empty spot adjacent to a gate. If I don't have any empty spots next to a gate, I won't be able to summon. Then, move. You can pick 3 people that you have, and you can move them 2 spaces. So maybe I would move the Beast Rider here. I move him here, and the Horde Slinger I might move 1, 2, like that. It's up to you on how you move things. You then can build. If you have any buildings, which is usually gates, you can build them. Gates, new gates that you add, have to be in the back 3 lines or adjacent to your summoner. Then you can attack with 3 units. You do not have to attack with the same 3 units that just moved, but when you attack, you'll pick a unit and a unit that's within their range and roll dice. Melee units can attack anyone who's directly adjacent to them orthogonally, and anyone with range can shoot in a straight line up to 3 spaces away. So let's say Sneaks here is attacking the Citadel Knight. He rolls 3 dice. There's no special abilities that are going to affect him right now. And he's rolling looking for swords. Since there are swords on 5 sides of the dice, that worked out pretty well. He's going to do 3 damage to the Citadel Knight, which does not kill it. If it's killed, it's removed from the board, but instead we just put some damage on the Citadel Knight. If the Citadel Knight was hitting Sneaks, same thing, it would roll 2 dice. Here you can see it only does 1 damage back to Sneaks. The Horde Slinger does ranged. On a range, you're looking for arrows. Arrows are only on 4 sides of the dice, and so they would do 1 damage. So you'll also notice that the die has this wiggly special symbol here. That is used only on some cards. Some cards will refer to that symbol, but usually it means nothing when you're attacking and defending. A lot of the game has to do with your magic track here. Every time you kill an opponent's unit, you get 1 magic. But at the end of your turn, you're going to go through the cards that you have left, and you can discard as many of those cards as you want. You'll never get them back unless there's a special ability, but each one you discard gives you another magic. And that's pretty much it. There's also event cards that can be played. Each team has various event cards that can be played. It tells you exactly when on the card to play it. For example, this one's played in the attack phase. It has a cost. This one costs 0. And all friendly units have the special ability. When this unit attacks, it's +1 for every other friendly unit adjacent to the target. Some events become an active event. They're placed next to the board here, and they will stay in effect until the beginning of your next turn when you discard them. Other than that, that's pretty much all the rules. If you don't attack anyone on your turn, your summoner takes 1 damage, but eventually one of the 2 players will lose their summoner. When that happens, that person loses and the other player is the winner. All right, let's take a look at the 6 factions. So first we have the Cave Goblins. They are fast and furious. In fact, you'll notice that most of the cards have 0 cost. Now, every faction has common units where you have multiple common units, and then they have 3 champions. The 3 champions are unique. Each one is different, has a special ability. This one here eats your own common units. This one you have to spend a magic or you discard it, but he walks around and you can choose him to do an extra attack beyond your 3 attacks. And that's kind of what the Cave Goblins are. Throw units out as fast as you can. They all work together. They do a lot of damage. The only common unit that costs anything are the Beast Riders. So they're kind of a swarm type of enemy here. And Sneaks here can exchange places with a friendly 0 cost unit. So if you like playing low cost stuff, this is a fun faction for you. It's probably actually my 6th favorite faction in this box, but I see the appeal to them if you just want to hit hard and fast. Here we have the good guys, in a sense, the vanguards. These are the folks, the paladins, the Citadel Paladin, the Citadel Knight, the Citadel Archer. They don't have a lot of ranged attack. I mean, Jacob does extra strength for each magic that you have, so if you build up a lot of magic, he's pretty powerful. But they have a decent amount of attack, but they also are healers. This is the group that heals. They also do a lot with the special symbols on the die. For example, the Citadel Paladin, after you attack with them, the number of these symbols you roll is how many cards you can draw. And then Sarah herself can bring back characters who have died previously and put them in your hand. Basically, after she attacks an enemy unit, if there's 1 or more friendly units in the battlefield, she can put a Citadel unit from your discard pile and add it to her hand, which means you might be able to play these people twice, the champions, although they are pretty expensive to get out on the table. If the Vanguard are the good guys, the Fallen Kingdom are the bad guys. So the Fallen Kingdoms, the undead carriers, you don't gain magic when they destroy enemy units. Instead, you can just pull an undead carrier out of your pile and put them out there. The undead archer can switch spots with people. When the Hellfire Cultist dies, it does damage to everyone next to it. This one is a super powerful, looking at 6 damage, but you have to kill one of your own units to do it. And in fact, your summoner here can deal damage to himself to add people from the discard pile back on the board. So these people, they're not healers, not like the Vanguard, but they do rise from the dead quite a bit. So there are actually some more similarities between those 2 factions than you might think. But if you like hurting yourself a little bit to do a lot of damage, these are your guys. If you like messing with your opponent, then you're going to like the breakers here, especially the summoner, because if she kills an opponent, then she can instead ignore the damage she does and take control. Not only that, you have mind control, which lets you briefly take control of people. The other one's more permanent. But you can see here, this is a ranged army, almost exclusively. This is the only person who's hand-to-hand combat. You can slow your opponents down with Perplexing Tempest. It's controlling your opponents. If you like trickery and deception, then the Breakers are the faction for you. My second favorite faction here is the Polar Dwarves. Not only because that's a fun thing, Polar Dwarves, it's a fun faction to think about, but they have ice golems who act as gates. They're structures, and they move around, and you can drop units next to them. Not only that, you have things like Ice Repair, where you can remove 2 damage from all your friendly structures. You have rams where you can force them. They're about moving slowly. I mean, these ice golems can only move 1. They move very slowly towards your opponent, but they can drop off powerful units like the Bear Cavalry, and your main unit here, she can force the structures to move, and so they're just a constant slow advance a very slow polar ice age advance. You let it go, these guys are going to whoop up on you. This is my favorite faction, the Savannah Elves. The Savannah Elves are immensely entertaining, and a lot of their units let you boost them. So there are boost tokens that come with this game. I didn't mention them earlier, but they're different on the characters. So you can put a boost token on someone. So for example, a Lioness, each boost token on her gives her +1 to her life. Each boost token on a Rhino gives it +1 to movement. If a border archer has a movement on it, they can take it off to do an extra attack. And because of the use of the boost, and this boost can be used by a few of the other armies, notably the polar dwarves and such, but using these boost tokens, this is what this army does. They move them around. You can have common units that are next to each other. Basically, they each have the abilities of each other. I can make my archer have the abilities of the rhinoceroses, which is really cool. And this the main character here, not only does he have a humongous 5 ranged attack, but can put more boost tokens on the units. I like this one just because I feel like the diversity is really fun. It's fun to run this rhino across. It's fun to have a massive tree, but also your main summoner is an archer. All these factions are very balanced, but this is my personally favorite one to play. The board for this game is okay looking. I mean, I get that you're going to have a lot of units on the board, so you don't want a lot of stuff in the background messing it up. And the tokens for it are meh, you know. But that's my only complaint. I love how the board tells you exactly what to do on your turn. And man, the artwork for this game is just phenomenal. It's really well done artwork, and all this stuff here, all these special abilities. There's a little FAQ in the rule book, but I never really had to look it up because this stuff is just very easy to understand. But I love the art. I like how everything looks. The card quality is not amazing. It's good, but the dice quality is really well done, and I like that. But my biggest thing I keep coming back to is the art. Just great components, especially the art for this game. So you can see here, if you watch my original review of Summoner Wars, it is one of my favorite games I've ever played. The second edition is same, or better. I actually like it better than the first edition. I love this game, folks. First of all, it is amazing to me how different in this box. There are 6 different factions, and they all feel completely different and yet completely balanced. And not to the point where, oh, well, the goblins are good against the Vanguard, but not as good against the Fallen Kingdom. No, I feel like they're all incredibly well balanced against each other. Now, you might say I'm not a top tier player, maybe, but I feel like no matter what happens, I have these really cool special abilities. Now, there are 4 event cards in each one. It's good to know what's in your opponent's deck. The first time you play, you might say, oh, had I known you had that card, I might have done something different. But there's not a huge variety there in a sense. You have 4 common units, 4 event cards, and 3 champions. Once you learn those for each of these, this game becomes almost chess-like with dice. Yeah, that's right, there's dice in this game, but they're not what you might think. When you do a melee and you hit on 5 out of 6 dice, or a range, and you're hitting 4 out of 6, you're often going to hit. But it's knowing when to play something, when to move something, what special abilities to use in combo that makes this game so fascinating. Like, I have a clear favorite from here, the Savannah Elves. They're my favorite. But I like the Polar Dwarfs, and you know what? Even though I mentioned that the Goblins were my least favorite, I'll still gladly play them. And I've not played every matchup here. I played all 6 factions. I haven't played every matchup between the factions, but I've seen, it's like, wow, and it just, this back and forth. What makes this game unique is utilizing your deck, discarding cards for magic. You're never probably going to get all your cards out on the table. I don't think that's even possible. Maybe with the Goblins it is, but for the most part, you're going to have to discard cards that you would have liked to have kept to put other cards out on the board, so you make tough decisions. You get your champions, you say, well, I can't play all of them, so which one works best in this situation? And then, do I move and attack this? Do I go for my opponent's summoner? Yes, you should almost always go for your opponent's summoner. And because that's what the whole game is, taking them out. But the game is going to to grind to a finish. Not grind to a finish, it's going to climatically go to that finish. It's so unique and interesting as you move your cards across, and this time I'm worrying about your walls coming from those polar dwarfs, or I'm worried that I just killed some of your fallen kingdom units, but now you're going to stand them back up and they're going to fight me again. So why am I bothering taking them down when I should just be doing an end run? Each deck comes with 3 more gates. How do I play these gates? Do I discard one for magic, or do I put as many gates out on the board to give me more spots to drop summoned units out? Whew. Man, do I love this game. It's so simple, and yet it seems to offer such great depth. I am mind-boggled with how much I like the original one, and yet they managed to take this. This is not just 6 redone factions. I mean, some of these factions are the same as the original set, but these 6 summoners with their folks, it gives me so much pleasure and so much fun. Like, usually when it comes to these, I'll say, well, I like the game, but let's see how much more there comes. Like in this, there's deck building going to be happening. There's going to be mercenary units that could be added to these decks. You'll be able to sideways step between factions that have similar symbols on them. None of that exists right now, as of me talking about it, and I love it. With that, I'm sure I'll like it even more, but without that, if I was never allowed to deck build but had to play with the 6 decks in here, I would still be giving this a 10 out of 10. That's how much I like this game. It is fast, it is fun, it has amazing art. I thought the art for the first game was fine, but this art is vastly superior to that. It has 6 different play styles in one box. Folks, I cannot recommend this highly enough. You know, nowadays we live in a world that is dominated by miniature games. Games with beautiful miniatures, especially tactical games that you fight. And I don't have a problem with that. I like moving miniatures around. I like playing with toys. It's fun. This game doesn't have that, and yet somehow supersedes almost every single one of those games with miniatures, proving that the game engine here is phenomenal. It's lightning caught in a bottle, now in its 2nd edition, and it's better than the first, which I did not think would be possible. Check it out. I'm Tom Vasel. That's Summoner War 2nd edition. I give it the highest possible rating I can. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent and amazing and wonderful.